Hey everyone, Hannah here with another SOC 101 winter semester lecture. So this is your fourth lecture, but really the majority of the video is just going to be me covering stuff for your exam on Thursday, sort of logistical factors, okay? So this week you do have a PowerPoint I guess I should say, there's a PowerPoint for today that has been posted on Moodle for a while for chapters 8 and 9. And so you can look that over and you'll see that there's vocabulary on marriage, family, and heteronormativity. And then chapter 9, which is technology and social networks. As always, make sure you're following along and staying up to date with the readings from the textbook because in addition to the material that's on the PowerPoints and that I cover in my videos, there's still more vocabulary, more theory, more key terms from those chapters. And of course, you're responsible for all of that material when you take your exam, okay? The one thing I'll say about um, the lecture slides for this lecture, which is lecture 4, week 2, lecture 2, I cover quantitative versus qualitative research methods. Now, what your textbook authors do is they cover a specific research methodology basically at the end of almost every chapter. So you should be familiar with all those things, but one of the biggest distinctions in the field of sociology is quantitative versus qualitative research. So if you don't remember the various methodologies covered in your textbook at the end of this class, once you've finished, I at least want you to be able to differentiate between these two methodologies. So what's the difference? Quantitative research focuses on statistics and numbers versus qualitative data focuses on words and interviews and print words and things like that. Now, how do we know what method to use? It's not as though one methodology is better than the other. We have to think about the research question and the project we're working on. So sometimes it's more meaningful to take some survey data and perform statistics. And in sociology, we usually use software packages to compute those statistics. We either use SPSS or Stata. Sometimes it makes more sense to interview people and then analyze the content of those words, of those interviews. It just depends on your research question and how you're framing your project. Now, sometimes with quantitative data, you might write your own survey instrument and collect original survey data that you're performing statistics on. Sometimes you use secondary survey data that's already been collected. Oftentimes, when we think of secondary data sets, we think of government agencies. So the federal government collects a lot of survey data from people in the country. You have census data, you have FBI data, and it's really easy to access that data. Either you log into the website and you created an account, or you can request access to certain data. And me, as a criminologist, one of the big data sets that a lot of folks in my field use is the victimization survey data that the FBI collects. And so you analyze that data that someone else already collected, you perform statistics on it, you interpret what that means for society and social issues, and then you publish those findings. You can also analyze secondary qualitative data as well. So, for example, the mentor I had when I wrote my dissertation, one of the qualitative methodologies she would often do is she would collect a bunch of newspaper articles looking at how specific cases of intimate partner violence were portrayed in print media. And then she would analyze how the journalists were framing that particular case and then looking at, well, what does that mean for how we as a society understand intimate partner violence because of how the media frames that. So those are just some examples of data sets and types of data, ways of analyzing data based off of if you decide quantitative or qualitative research is more befitting for your project. Questions about methodology will be on your exam, so keep that in mind. All right. I have been sending out the anonymous feedback, the exit passes on a regular basis. So I just want to touch base so you all feel like I'm actually taking your feedback into consideration. One of the things someone asked early on was if you look at our schedule on the syllabus, there's the weeks and the dates are over here, and then each week is planned out. And I tell you the day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that an assignment is due, right? Monday and Wednesday, you have a lot of due dates. But someone asked if I could also include the dates. So what I did is I went to all the assignments, and you can see there are dates due now, okay? And then same thing for the discussion board post, all right? So I hope that shows to you that I am taking your feedback seriously. I try to incorporate it as best I can. And I hope that adding those dates specifically will help to keep everyone organized as we finish up our semester, our very short semester. Now, I know the big pressing thing for this week is that in 2 days you have exam 1. So if you go to the area in our syllabus where all the different types of assessments are listed, you'll see that there's information about the exam. So it's going to be multiple choice, true, false, short answer, and essay. Because our semester is so short and it's time consuming for students to write essays, it's even more time consuming for me to grade essays. The test will be all true, false, multiple choice, and maybe one short answer. Okay. And that's true for exam 1 and exam 2. In order to prepare for the exam, you should be utilizing exam 1 study guide. And there will be an exam 2 study guide once exam 1 is over. Okay, so download that. It's a Word doc. It has vocabulary, theory, stuff like that. And you sort of walk through it and fill in the blank. And you'll notice that it's sort of a similar design as the chapter reviews. So if you've been keeping up with those assignments, my hope is that it'll make preparing for the exam a little more intuitive for you. Now, when it comes time to actually taking the exam, you will be on Moodle, and then I will have a section toward the bottom here, exams here. There'll be a link. So just like this says recordings here, and then there's links to go into the recordings, there'll be a link that'll say exam 1. You'll click on that, and then it'll prompt you. It'll ask you, are you sure you're ready? And you say yes. And then it'll be timed, and you'll go in and you'll answer each question. Each question is its own page. That benefits students because if you lose Wi-Fi access or you get kicked off of Moodle for any reason, then it would save every question up until that point. Versus if I had 5 or 10 questions per page, then you would not be able to save the questions you already answered on that page that you were on when you got kicked off. The exam will be open for at least 24 hours to give you a little wiggle room and so that you can plan accordingly. But make sure that you're being proactive and you're planning your time accordingly because, you need time to take the exam. I will give everyone, I usually do an hour and a half. Typically my SOC 101 classes during a quote unquote normal semester are an hour and 15 minutes. So I try and stay within that time frame for exams. So I'll stick to that. If you have accommodations, don't forget to send me documentation of those accommodations and I can go in on the back end of Moodle and offer that extension time that you receive. I'll give you an hour and a half. Once you start the exam, that's it. You take the exam, you get one attempt. But I think that covers all the logistical factors of the exam as far as where to find it, when to take it, all that good stuff. I will send out a class-wide email when the exam is live. It will be on Wednesday. So tomorrow is when it will go live. And then you'll have until Thursday to take the exam. And so the exam is due at 11:59 p.m. on Thursday. That means at 11:59 p.m., the exam will cut off regardless of whether or not you're finished with the exam. So that means thinking about the fact that you have an hour and a half to take it, you want to start taking the exam at around 10:30 p.m. on Thursday at the absolute latest. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't take it early, right? Because if you wait until the very last minute to log on and take the exam and you have any sort of IT or logistical issues and you email me, chances are I'm not going to answer your email because I'll be sleeping. But if you take the exam on Wednesday evening, and then you email me that night with issues, that gives me all day Thursday to respond. Or if you take it early in the day on Thursday, that also gives me time to respond. So just be mindful of all of those things, especially if you haven't taken an exam on Moodle before and you're not sure and you might have questions, plan accordingly. But other than that, that's all I have for you this week. I try to keep it short and sweet for this one since you have your exam in a couple of days. Good luck. I'm available via email if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing everyone ace the first exam in a couple of days. Bye, everyone.